There are 7 things you need to keep private for the rest of your life, not from strangers, from the people closest to you, your best friend, your girlfriend, even your family. Niccolò Machiavelli wrote something in The Prince that most people misread as political advice, but it was actually a warning about human nature. He said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." That's not philosophy. That's survival. Because here's what nobody tells you. People smile at you while collecting information. They remember what you said when you were weak. They store what you shared when you trusted them. And the moment you threaten their comfort or succeed beyond their expectations, they'll use every piece of it against you. Today, I'm giving you the 7 things you should never reveal to anyone. They seem harmless, but they expose you completely. And the last one? It destroys more men than all the others combined. Secret 1, your next move. Let's start with the one that costs people the most opportunities. You have a plan, a goal, a vision for your next chapter. Maybe it's a business you want to start. Maybe it's a skill you want to master. Maybe it's a complete reinvention of who you are. And what do most people do with that plan? They share it. They tell their friends, their family, their co-workers. They think they're getting support. They think they're being held accountable. But here's what's actually happening. The moment you reveal your next move, you expose your ambition. And ambition triggers one of 2 reactions in people. Insecure people will try to lower it. Competing people will try to sabotage it. Watch how this plays out in real life. You tell a friend you're launching a business. They hit you with, "Are you sure that's smart right now? Isn't that risky? You're going to leave your stable job for that?" Now stop and ask yourself, were they really concerned for your well-being? Or were they afraid you might actually break free while they stay stuck? People throw doubt at you dressed as advice. They use your old self to hold back your future self. But you're not that type of guy. You've never done something like that before. Here's what Machiavelli understood. Your plan isn't safe in other people's heads. It's only safe when it's done. If they see the move before it's made, they can block it. If they see it after it's made, they can only fear it. I call this the announcement tax. Every time you share your next move, you pay a price. Sometimes it's doubt that gets planted in your mind. Sometimes it's competition that gets activated. Sometimes it's sabotage you never see coming. And there's another cost nobody talks about. When you fail after hyping yourself up, you've given them something even more powerful than ammunition. You've given them evidence. Evidence to laugh at you. Evidence to say, "I told you so." Evidence that confirms their belief that you were never going to make it anyway. So what's the rule? Move in silence. Let results do the talking. Power moves without warning. But here's where it gets even more interesting. There's a psychological trap hiding inside your next move. And I'm going to expose it when we get to secret number 6. For now, just remember this. Your ambition is a target. Stop painting it on your chest. Secret 2. Your weakness. Now we move into dangerous territory. This is where people destroy themselves without even realizing it. The second you tell the wrong person your weakness, you stop being a person. You become a target. You might think you're being honest. You might think you're building trust. But they're not listening the way you think they are. They're taking notes. They're storing your pain like ammunition for a war you don't even know is coming. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be tolerant with others. Be strict with yourself." That means you deal with your pain internally. You don't broadcast it for validation. Why? Because most people don't care about your weakness. And the ones who do, they're watching to see where you bleed. So they know exactly where to strike. What you see as vulnerability, they see as leverage. Here's how this plays out. You share something painful with someone you trust. You tell them about your insecurity, your fear, your failure. They listen. They comfort you. They say all the right things. And then, months or years later, in the middle of an argument or a power struggle, they throw it right back at you. You've always been insecure about that. Remember when you couldn't even handle that situation? No wonder you're acting like this. Your own words, weaponized. I call this the ammo effect. Every vulnerability you share becomes a bullet someone else gets to keep. They don't fire it right away. They wait. They store it, and the moment you threaten them or set a boundary or succeed beyond their comfort zone, they reload and aim. Here's the brutal truth. Your enemies were once your confidants. Your biggest betrayals will come from familiar faces, and the wounds that hurt most will be the ones you volunteered. So what do? You build yourself up in private. You conquer your demons behind closed doors. You become the kind of man who masters his wounds instead of marketing them. And if you're thinking, but I need support, let me tell you something. Support is earned through strength, not tears. In a world full of people broadcasting their breakdowns, the man who stays unreadable is the man they respect. He's unpredictable, he's powerful, he's untouchable. Your weakness is your responsibility, not your announcement. Secret 3, your income. Now let's talk about money, and not just money. What it does to how people see you. There's a reason old money stays quiet while new money screams. Real power doesn't shout, it watches. The moment you tell someone what you earn, you stop being a person, you become a number. They stop seeing you, they see your wallet. And then the calculations begin. How can I use this person? How can I compete with them? How much do they owe me now? I call this the wallet effect. Money doesn't just change your lifestyle. It changes how people calculate your value. And those calculations rarely work in your favor. Let me paint you a scene. You tell a friend you made 6 figures this year. At first they smile, they congratulate you. That's amazing. But then the questions start. You must be rich now, right? Hey, I've got this business idea I want to run by you. Can you help me with rent this month? Suddenly, your income has created expectations. And when you don't meet those expectations, respect turns to resentment. You become the selfish one, the one who forgot where he came from, the one who has money but won't share it. This happens in every area of life. In friendships, money creates comparison and jealousy. In relationships, money becomes control. If they think you earn more, they either rely on you too much or compete with you silently. In family, you're now the one who made it, which means you're expected to carry everyone's weight, solve everyone's problems, and never say no. Say no once, and suddenly you're arrogant. You're selfish, you've changed. Here's the Machiavellian principle. If they don't know what you have, they can't control how they treat you. Mystery invites respect, and power grows best when it's hidden. The true strategist doesn't show his wealth. Money is a weapon, and you never show your weapons before the battle starts. So what's the rule? Silence is the ultimate flex. Let them guess, let them wonder, let them assume, because the moment you start talking about your income, you paint a target on your back. And the world starts aiming. You don't need to explain your lifestyle. You don't need to justify your success. You don't need to defend what you've earned. Just protect it in silence. Secret 4. Your relationship conflicts. Now we enter territory where people destroy their respect without even realizing it. You fight with your partner. You feel hurt, betrayed, confused. So you do what feels natural. You go tell someone, your friend, your group chat. You spill all the details, the words, the insults, the chaos. You think you're getting support. But here's what you're actually doing. You're broadcasting your instability to an audience that doesn't actually care. Now everyone knows your relationship is shaky. Now everyone sees cracks in your power, and when people see cracks, they don't help you fix them. They wait for collapse. I call this the soap opera effect. The moment your relationship problems go public, you stop being respected. You become entertainment, a character in someone else's drama, a story they share in group chats. Here's the law. What you expose emotionally will be used strategically. Let me say that again. What you expose emotionally will be used strategically. And most of the time, not by your enemies, by your spectators. People love watching you break, not because they hate you, but because it makes them feel better about their own chaos. You tell them your girlfriend disrespected you. They nod sympathetically. Then they laugh about it later. You say you got cheated on, but stayed. They never look at you the same again. You're no longer the mysterious man in control. You're the fragile one, the one they expect to break again. Even in professional settings, this destroys you. When co-workers hear about your relationship issues, they start questioning your discipline. Is he distracted? Can we trust him with this project? So, what's the rule? If it bleeds, don't post it. If it hurts, don't parade it. If it's sacred, protect it. Your relationship is your battlefield. Nobody outside that battlefield deserves a map of your vulnerabilities. And this doesn't mean suffer in silence. If you need help, get it from someone above your level, a therapist, a mentor, not your emotionally reactive friend who can't even manage their own love life. Control the narrative or be owned by it. Secret 5. Your family problems. This one cuts deep, and most people get it wrong. You think telling people about your family problems makes you honest. You think being open about your childhood, your father's absence, your family's dysfunction will make them understand you better. No, it makes them judge you. Here's the brutal truth. When you reveal the chaos inside your home, you strip yourself of dignity outside of it. People don't separate you from your family. They project the dysfunction directly onto you. No wonder he's like that. With that upbringing, what do you expect? His family's a mess. Don't trust it. They'll act sympathetic in the moment. Then they'll screenshot your breakdown. Then they'll serve it as entertainment at the next gathering. Why? Because your pain feeds their ego. It gives them someone to feel superior to, someone to talk about when their own lives get boring, someone to dissect when they need distraction from their own mess. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." When you overshare family drama, you lose both. You're not feared. You're not loved. You're pitied. And pity kills respect. When they pity you, they don't follow you. They don't admire you. They don't listen when you speak, because they've already placed you beneath them in their mental hierarchy. Your trauma becomes your label, not your strength, not your growth, just your label. Here's a real-world example. You're at work. A colleague asks about your weekend. You let your guard down. My dad left again. It's always been like this. My mom cried all day. I'm exhausted. You think you're opening up, but all they hear is unstable, distracted, weak. They'll never say it to your face. But the next time there's a promotion, a high-stakes assignment, a leadership opportunity, they'll pass you over. Subconsciously, they don't trust your foundation. So what do? Heal in silence. Build in silence. And when you rise, let them see strength. Not the storm you came from. Your story is yours. Not public property, not their entertainment. The next time your name comes up in conversation, you want it to be about your results, not your dysfunction. Secret 6. Your long-term goals. Remember that psychological trap I mentioned? Here it is. Your long-term goals, the empire you're trying to build, the version of yourself that nobody has seen yet. That vision needs to stay locked away. And I'm not talking about your next vacation. I'm talking about the 5-year plan, the decade transformation, the legacy you're quietly building. Here's why most people never get anywhere, even when they have big dreams. They talk too much. They announced their vision, got applause, felt good, and that was the beginning of the end. This is what I call the fake dopamine trap. Your brain cannot tell the difference between accomplishment and applause. When you share your long-term goal and people react positively, your brain releases the same reward chemicals it would release if you actually achieve something. You talk, they cheer. Your brain thinks, mission complete, but nothing has been done. No product, no system, no sacrifice, just a fantasy you murdered with your own mouth. This is why people who announce their goals publicly often procrastinate more. They already felt the reward of being seen as ambitious. The internal fire goes out because they already cashed in the validation. There's also the doubt problem. The moment you make your vision public, you give people permission to critique it. That's too ambitious. Is that realistic? Why don't you try something smaller first? Even if they don't mean harm, they've planted seeds. Now you start adjusting your vision. Not for truth, but for approval. You water down your dream. You shape it to be digestible instead of disruptive. And you lose your edge. Here's the Machiavellian principle at work. When you keep your long-term goals secret, you create mystery. Mystery builds tension. Tension commands attention. Attention leads to power. So what's the rule? Let them see nothing. Let them expect nothing. Let them prepare for nothing. Because the man who says little moves freely. The man who talks big becomes a target. You don't announce victories. You force people to notice them. Let them ask, wait, when did this happen? How did you do that? Let your silence become their obsession. Secret 7. Your biggest regrets. Earlier I told you the last secret destroys more men than all the others combined. This is it. Your biggest regrets, your deepest failures, the mistakes that still keep you up at night. People will act like they care. They'll nod while you speak. They might even share their own story to make you feel safe. But the moment you reveal your deepest regret, they will never see you the same way again. Here's what happens. Most people aren't equipped to carry your past responsibly. They store it, they wait, and the second you succeed more than they expected, or dare to set boundaries, or become someone they didn't predict, they throw it back at you. You think you've changed. Weren't you the same guy who, funny how you act like you're better now? Remember when you... It doesn't matter if it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Your vulnerability becomes their opportunity. This is the frozen past effect. In your mind, your regret represents growth. You see who you were and you see who you've become. But in their mind, your regret stays frozen. It never thaws. It never updates. To them, you're permanently that person. Even when you've grown, even when you've changed, your regret stays locked in their memory. Not as a phase you overcame, as proof. Proof that you can be broken. Proof that you were once small. Proof that, under the surface, you might still be that person. Here's a real-world example. You used to chase the wrong relationships. You got manipulated. You got played. Now you've leveled up. You hold frame. You command respect. But you meet someone new, and you want to be open with them, so you tell them everything about your past. At first, they sympathize, but weeks later, in the middle of a conflict, they use it. You were so weak back then. You'll always be insecure about that. I could do the same thing to you if I wanted. It stings. Not because it's still true, but because you gave them the ammunition yourself. Machiavelli warned, "It is much safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Regret invites sympathy, and sympathy lowers your position. People don't respect who you were. They respect who you appear to be now. So what do you do with your regrets? You lock them. You bury them. You use them as fuel, not as stories. Turn your biggest regret into silent discipline. Let it shape how you move, not how you explain yourself. Your regret is your teacher, not your confession, not your introduction, not your conversation starter. You want to confess, do it to a journal, do it to a therapist, not to the friend who gossips, not to the partner who might leave, not to anyone who hasn't earned the weight of your past.